Hola, soy Gordon, solo. Why am I here alone? Well, by the way, welcome to Lightspeed Spanish. This is the video 1 in a series called Making the Subjunctive Easy, taking the mystery out of the subjunctive. Um, why am I here alone? Porque Cynthia está en Londres en este momento. So, what I've decided to do is, while Cynthia's away with Sebastian, I'm going to record a series of videos that is designed and podcasts that are designed to help you demystify the subjunctive. Okay, so this is the first of a number of videos that you can then watch, or podcasts that you can listen to over and over again. Okay, the purpose of this is I've been teaching Spanish for a long time now. I have also, being English, I have had to learn the subjunctive. Okay, now, like everybody else at the beginning, what happened was I started to learn the subjunctive based on the rules that I was given. And let me just give you a few rules that maybe you're familiar with. The subjunctive is talking about something in the future, something not certain, something there's a shadow of doubt on it. Okay, and I used those rules to try and help me use the subjunctive. And to be frank, they fell flat on the face. Why? Because the rules are rubbish. Those rules are absolutely rubbish. They contradict themselves all the time. They're not true. They're not true. Let me give you an example. Okay? Let me give you a few examples. So, first rule, we're talking about something not certain in the future. Okay? Something that's doubtful. So what about this sentence then? If they come tomorrow, we'll go to the park. Okay? If they come tomorrow, we'll go to the park. How doubtful is that? Pretty damn doubtful, I think. And yet, do you use the subjunctive? No. You say, si vienen mañana, iremos al parque. Si vienen mañana, iremos al parque. Si vienen. Okay? So no subjunctive. And that is future doubtful. So there's the first rule. Look, I wipe my bottom on that rule, throw it in the bin. Okay. Second rule, talking about something that's doubtful as well. Talking about a doubtful thing. Okay. Now, what about this sentence? Maybe, at the best, they'll come tomorrow. Okay. So again, that should be subjunctive, shouldn't it? And yet, when you look at the sentence, you can use a lo mejor vienen mañana. Okay? Now, that's talking about a doubtful future event. No subjunctive. A lo mejor vienen mañana. So what the devil's happening? What about these rules that we're being told you have to follow for the subjunctive, and yet we don't use the subjunctive? Okay, so rule number 2. Well, the same rule. Wipe my bottom on that one as well. Right, so my intention is this, and what I've discovered with the subjunctive. Forget trying to maintain these massive amount of rules in your head about when and whatever. I think the best way of using the subjunctive is learning when the subjunctive is triggered. Learning what triggers, what actually physically are the physical words that trigger the subjunctive. Okay, so this is what this series is going to be about. It's going to help you understand when the subjunctive is triggered. Okay? Once you do that, afterwards, if you want to, you can look at the whys and the wherefores. Lots of people want to know why. I understand that. I wanted to know why. I've always wanted to know why. I didn't want to just say something. But I think that really for you to manage the subjunctive, then what you need to do is get past the rules, because the rules cause confusion. They certainly did for me. And all of the students that I teach seem to have that same confusion about the subjunctive. It's either not there at all, or it's everywhere. To learn the rules of the subjunctive, suddenly subjunctives everywhere, in every sentence. Vale. So first things first, in this video, what I'd like to do is just explain to you why do you need to learn the subjunctive, and to answer the question that's on many, many people's lips, is it possible to speak Spanish without the subjunctive? Okay? So, first one, let me answer the second question first. Is it possible to speak Spanish without the subjunctive? Absolutely it is. Absolutely, of course you can. The same as it's possible to speak Spanish without using nouns. It's possible to speak Spanish without using verbs if you want to. Okay? The problem is, the Spanish that you'll be speaking will not be very good. It'll be Tarzan-esque. Okay? Me, Tarzan, you, Jane. Okay? The subjunctive, all right, we're talking about a different level. But what you find is this: once your Spanish gets to a decent level, if you don't have the subjunctive, you won't be able to progress. Why? Because the subjunctive is everywhere. You have to dominarlo. Okay? You have to. There are little tricks to get round you not using the subjunctive, but why? It's everywhere. The Spanish use it all the time. The Spanish speakers. Anyone who speaks Spanish uses it all the time. Okay. So, is it necessary? It absolutely is necessary. Don't avoid it. Okay? Why do people want to avoid it? Why do students of Spanish want to avoid it? Well, it's clear that most, certainly for myself as an English speaker, that I had no frame of reference. In English, in the present, there isn't a subjunctive. We don't have a present subjunctive. And so when you're learning, you don't have what's called un referente. You don't have something to compare it to. And so it becomes very difficult. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why people avoid it, because they just don't understand it. They don't know what it is. Okay. I've had students say to me, the subjunctive is a mood. It's a mood. It's not a tense, it's a mood. Okay? And I always thought, well, great. What does that mean? That doesn't help me to speak Spanish. People saying, well, it's a mood. Okay, and? Does that mean when I'm in a mood I've got to use a subjunctive? No, it doesn't. So look, let's take all of the rules and push them to one side. And let's just focus on the mechanics. Okay? And then afterwards, maybe in a resumen, we can then maybe talk about why. Also, I'm doing this alone, but at the end of the series, Cynthia and I will be together and we will be using the subjunctive in all of the areas that I'm talking about now. Okay? And we'll also be doing some interactive stuff where we'll be speaking and leaving gaps for you to fill with the subjunctive, okay? Just for practice. Okay. So before we go any further, let me just talk about how you actually make the subjunctive. This is the easiest part. Making the subjunctive is easy. You need to do two things. Okay? To make the subjunctive, if you have an AR verb, you have to pretend that it's an ER verb. Okay? And if you have an ER verb or an IR verb, you have to pretend that it's an AR verb. That's your job. Number one. Number two, to make the subjunctive, although you're switching things over ER to AR, AR to ER, you must also use the yo, the first person structure of each verb. Why? Because some of the yo forms tend to be a little bit irregular. Take into account the go verbs, the tengo, pongo, vengo, hago. All of the go verbs are an example of sort of an irregularity in the yo form. Okay? So what you must do is, when you make the subjunctive, and let's just use a bog standard verb, comer. Okay? So to make the subjunctive in the comer in the yo form, what you do is you think, well, comer, that's an ER verb. So to use the subjunctive in the yo form, you change the ER to AR, so it's coma. Okay? Not como, coma. So it goes like this. Comer in subjunctive, coma, comas, coma. Comamos, comáis, coman. Okay? over to an AR verb, hablar. So AR flips over to ER. So it becomes hable, hables, hable, hablemos, habléis, hablen. Okay? So that's just a standard kind of subjunctive flip. However, if you do get a verb that's irregular in the jaw, let's use tener. So now, tener is an ER verb, so we know that tener has to be AR. Okay? And tener in the jaw form is a go verb. So what happens? You get this. You get tenga. So the tener is changed to an AR, and you also got to keep the g in. So tenga, tengas, tenga. Tengamos, tengáis, tengan. Okay? And that would apply for poner, ponga. Venir, venga. Yeah? Hacer, haga. Okay? So we'll use examples of the verbs as we go on. But basically, that's where we are. En resumen. Yes, you must use the subjunctive. You must. It's just your Spanish won't go forward unless you do. 2. The actual mechanics of subjunctive are easy. Making the subjunctive is easy. What you need to know is actually when do you need to use it? Okay? The rules, for the moment, we're putting the rules to one side about this, that, and the other, and not sure in the future and whatever. Okay? And we're going to look at how do you know? We're going to look at what we call triggers, the triggers of the subjunctive. Okay, so stay with me, and I'll see you in the next video where we're going to start to do some examples of some of the triggers. Okay, pues muchas gracias y hasta el próximo video. Adiós.